Welcome. It's the final Wednesday in our ongoing series on edicts or principles of Tantra. And we typically end any series we do in the Master Class series by looking more explicitly at the spiritual dimension of whatever principle it is that we're looking at. And the truth is that the spiritual dimension or aspect of yoga pertains to other days too, right? It's not just the last Wednesday of the month that like yoga cares about your spiritual growth, right? It's an ongoing point of reference. So I don't want to mislead you. In fact, it's one of the defining characteristics of orientation towards greater spiritual realization is a defining characteristic of every yoga system, Tantra included, and Vedanta included, and Patanjali Yoga Sutras, and Bhagavad Gita. Yeah, that's something they all have in common in a pronounced way. And they've gone about describing that in different ways, depending on the time and the circumstance and maybe the temperament of the particular person who had the vision, and then tried to translate or codify that vision into a system that could possibly work for others, for them, so that they could access something that's really beyond time and space and beyond the particular parameters of the mind and beyond the confines of language. And so the actual realization itself gets kind of like a roadmap, like the map is not really the same thing as the territory. And yoga is really ultimately intended to deliver a kind of realized understanding or experience. I think Bhagavad Gita is pretty generous in that regard. There's a passage in the second chapter that says, for one who has seen the truth, the scriptures are as unnecessary as a well is to a village that lives next to the river. So if you can just drink from the river, you don't need all the particulars and the do's and don'ts of any given system, or the well for that matter. So all the same, the realization of yoga has been characterized in different ways in different systems. In Patanjali, for example, yoga chitta vritti nirotana. Yoga is the cessation of mental modification. Yoga is what happens when your mind stills, and we all get a kind of dawning sense of this when we come out of Shavasana or at the very end of class, and suddenly the world has less hold, or there's just less friction, there's just more space. That's the stilling of mind. We haven't fabricated peace so much as we've just removed the distortions to peace. So like when the mind comes down, inherently peace is what emerges more fully. And then within the Hatha Yoga system, so this kind of brings us back to Tantra, within the Hatha Yoga system, they characterize the awakened state as when prana enters Sushumna, when prana enters the central channel of the body. So it's more of a mechanical description of how the yoga happens. Like mechanically, when prana goes here, then wow, you wake up. And as it turns out, energy, prana and chitta are just two sides of the same coin. So the mind is also very still then as well, right? and they just emphasize more of the pranic approach, which is more of where we're headed this evening. So tonight's class will be around guiding prana into and towards Sushumna, and we can do that through sound, we can do that through contemplation, we can do that through a practice called Mahamudra, which is regarded as one of the foremost ways in which to direct prana into Sushumna. It's a combination of the breathing technique, the physical posture, as well as concentration and attention as well. Okay, so that's where we're headed. We're going to spend less time on theory and more time on doing this evening. Okay, all right. Let's actually start on our backs.